Hello. In this video, we will review the sport of netball. Netball is derived from the sport of basketball. In 1895 at Madame Austenberg's College in England, netball was made into an official sport, and then by the 1960s it was internationally recognized and an international netball federation was formed. The sport is mainly played in England, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and Canada. The court is pretty much the only thing that could be identified with basketball in terms of netball. The rules and how the game is played is very different from basketball. I think that center circle isn't really center there.
Sorry, sir. I'm doing my best.
In netball, there are 7 players on the court at any given time. There are substitutions, but the substitutions need to occur during the appropriate time. There aren't any timeouts. And there's also no limit to the number of players that can be substituted in or out. Each position has a respective area in which they are permitted to move within. This is why the court is broken up into thirds. Positional attributes are based on the positional needs as well as coaching style and/or needs of the coach. In netball, play is fast-paced, and there's short breaks for fouls and injuries, but there are no timeouts. So basically, even though netball was derived from basketball, the pace of the play and the style of netball play on the court is almost like ice hockey, where it's a lot of not long passes, but a lot of passes and a lot of moving in and out of offensive and defensive formations. The season length in netball generally depends on the number of teams participating in the league or the competition. They can have certain competitions are based on tournament play and the subsequent winning or points gathered from participating in a tournament versus a season where there's multiple games in a season. Generally, the tournament play is for international level play, and seasonal play is more of a national or regional play or schedule. As I had mentioned before, netball is a fast-paced sport and requires a high level of anaerobic capacity all around. The only exception to this would be the goalkeeper, when they don't have to necessarily use the anaerobic system as much. They mainly, like most goalies in a lot of sports, they use more of the aerobic system and more of a quick energy phosphagen creatine system. The skills in netball are generally basic, but like many other invasion-based games, there's a lot of strategy and it can become pretty complex in terms of movements and what's going on around the court and trying to set up certain areas to attack and or to defend or counterattack from. And this really makes the game a high, in addition to making the game fast and fast-paced tempo, the game is very much based in reflex and reaction for all the positions. Injuries in netball mainly result from non-contact situations, and the situations are usually landing from jumping, whether it's horizontal or vertical, or a very intense, rapid sort of, not sort of, but a hard deceleration and also a change of direction, like combined. So decelerating very quickly and then changing direction. And in some cases that will put stress on the knee or ankle, and that could over time or at a certain point just cause an injury there in ligaments or possible muscle strain. One of the most critical sports skills in netball is catching. This is because the game is only played with your hands, and the ability to catch and distribute the ball to your own teammates is highly valuable, and without it, you're not going to be very successful in competition. Before you administer any type of performance test, it's always important to select appropriate tests for the ability or the age or the capacity of the person or persons. Because of the nature of the game in netball, I prefer to use like closer agility tests, maybe 15, 20 meters, and also a lot of footwork with single and double sort of hopping patterns, because that's very much like the footwork utilized in the sport or in competition and play. The training periodization for netball would be dictated by whatever the league has or set up as their competition or competitive season. Some leagues will have a longer competitive season with maybe a single tournament. Other leagues might have multiple tournaments going, acquiring points in tournaments leading up to a bigger tournament or a championship tournament. So it all depends on whatever the league is and also the requirements of the athlete. Here's an example for a novice, periodization for a year for a novice person with the goals of improving strength and endurance. Look at the month of April to see how there's anaerobic specific, aerobic specific, and game. So the way that we could train this is at practice, at the actual coach's practice. You have set up specific drills stressing points with for the upcoming competition or something along those lines, and you make it a high paced or highly intense or high pressure type of game, whether it's an open or closed. Open, you can probably get a little bit more high pressure out of an open type of a game, and you can accomplish all of these qualities in a single training session. Here's an example for an intermediate athlete with the goals of improving power, agility, footwork, as well as aerobic capacity. And for reactive type training and combining that with footwork, it's good to use drills or conditioning drills or even like game specific drills that require some decision making, and that will help with sort of building or challenging the reactive qualities. This is an example for an advanced athlete with the goals of a favorable lean body mass to fat mass ratio, and also to continually to improve power. The reason why for an advanced athlete, I usually try to stress a little bit more of a diet is because It's as you get older, especially as an athlete, you've already been subjected to a lot of different training protocols, so your body's pretty well adapted at that point, and keeping a favorable body weight to power ratio is going to help just all around in terms of your conditioning. It's going to make it easier for running or conditioning. It's going to make your agility and your reactiveness still, stay very favorable. So those are important attributes for advanced athletes to retain, as well as, obviously an advanced athlete, you've been playing the sport for a while, so there's probably a lot of tactical knowledge as well. So little, it's a trade-off. You kind of go down in power and agility, but your experience and knowledge of the sport or game hopefully raises up.
Older the bull, stiffer the horn.
This concludes our video on netball and some of netball's general aspects and some of the strength and conditioning for netball. If you have any questions about any of the material on the slide, I could gladly go into it in depth on any one of them, and just leave any of those questions or comments in the comment section below. And thank you for listening and watching.